Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. It's beginning to look a lot like... never mind. It's the Darkest Timeline podcast. I think we can all agree this is absolutely the Darkest Timeline, so this is the podcast we need right now. I'm going to help you get through these dark times with a bit of cheer, maybe. Games, movies, TV, VR... working out, running. If that's your bag, you're in the right place. If it's not your bag, stick around, there might still be something for you. If you're checking us out on YouTube, big thank you. If you're a subscriber, bigger thank you. If you're about to click the subscribe button, huge thank you. It's a big help. Don't forget though, there is iTunes and there is SoundCloud. That's where you can get all your CookieCast podcast delights. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline podcast. Right. Are we super loud this week again? Kind of moved the microphone away because I was like, with that thing where it just seems, or it looks loud, which obviously I get how that sounds, but well, I've moved it a little further away. Hello! For once I can actually say recording a little bit earlier. That is largely because I didn't want to do it. You know, previously it's like, I just want to, like, the reason is we got late, and none of this matters, I'm just trying to keep you informed. The reason it gets late is I just like, it's like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna have a bit of a sit, take a moment, you know, that sort of stuff. But today, didn't want to do it. And that sounds worse than it actually is. The reason I didn't want to do podcast was because I wanted to do something else. So I've hurried through my evening in the hope that I can quickly get on to doing what I want to do. Luckily for you, lovely people, it is on the list. So you'll find out what that is very, very shortly. And that is largely because not a hell of a lot going on at the moment. At time of recording, the old lockdown still in effect. It's weird. I have to go out to collect a present for that time of year, and got the text message. Oh, are you out? Are you going to collect that thing? Yeah. What do you need? You know, that sort of thing. Oh, can you pop to Next? It's like, you've got shops that are like open, but not open. My Next had a counter, like the door was open, but there was this counter, and you just go and you give them like an order number, and they go off and get your order and bring it back and give it to you. Right. Okay. So yeah, there's a variety of things that are open and not open, cafes and things. I would hate at this point in time to add up how much money I've spent on coffee. Let's say in the last month. Because once the realisation, not being able to leave the house, but you can get coffee delivered, once that kicked in, the bank was crying. So yeah, none of that was on my list to talk about. I don't have a massive, like, this last week. Couple couple of things. I've written something down, and I now just very quickly. I'm just looking at last week's episode just to make sure. No. Would appear I did not discuss my new running route last week, so that's good. We can talk about that. So yeah, there's a lot of movie related stuff, a little bit of TV, and the rest is games. But I want to talk to you about something that I've been suffering through recently. You people, what do you mean, you people? You people know that I am a man that enjoys an energy drink. Bit of a funny one, this. I used to despise them. Like, really sort of... No, that's not... It's not quite... I believed that they had a place in this world, and I believed that place was in the region of... If you've been up all night, like if you've been up all night watching the Super Bowl, gotta get your... I don't want to offer any brand loyalty on this one, so well-known brand energy drink. You gotta have a couple of them, you know. And that was how energy drinks presented themselves to me. Back when I used to drink the old Jaeger bomb, and that sort of stuff. But I wouldn't just consume them. After the baby, I got into drinking energy drinks, rightly or wrongly. Back in those days, it was just that need for a little bit of something to keep me going. I wouldn't drink them during the day. I'd set a point in time, 5 o'clock, have an energy drink, and it was mostly just to get through the evening, just keep me tip top shape. Once upon a time, there was a time that I didn't drink coffee. Imagine that. So, I was drinking a fair amount of energy drinks. Then Mr. Panas and Mr. Williams turned up one day and they were like, "Oh, we brought you something," and they brought me Tesco's own energy drinks. And these were like the tall boys, like the monster sort of size cans. And I was like, what the hell are these things? And they're like, they said they were tropical flavour, and it was a whole other level of craziness. So they brought like a 4-pack, and a couple of days down the line I was like, oh, you know, I shouldn't judge things. If I haven't tried it, I shouldn't judge it. I should try it and then criticise. So I opened one of these cans. They had been sat in the fridge. I opened one of these cans and I took a sip, and I described it to people as it felt like powering up, like in an anime where someone's like powering up, like Dragon Ball Z or something like that. It felt like I imagine that feels like. It was crazy. It was like rocket fuel. Unfortunately, as is the way, things like that, once you've had something like that, the moment you feel a bit flat, you're like, oh, I'm going to have one of them. Perk me up, keep me going. I used to take them for like road trips, because I was still at a point where I was a little bit sleep deprived, but you know, if you're driving a couple of hours away, say you were going to a gig, drive for a couple of hours, go to a gig, you're kicking out at 11, you've got a 2-hour drive back, crush one of those bad boys before you set off, and you are good to go. However, as is the way with things like this and me, unfortunately, it became a thing. So I was like, gotta have them in the house for emergencies, obviously. And then those emergencies became like, more like every other day. Ooh, just need a little bit of a pick-me-up. Oh, I'll have one of those energy drinks. And then that very quickly turned into 5 o'clock every day. I'd have one. I'd go to Tesco's once every 2 weeks and buy 2 weeks worth. I tried other flavours, tried other types, knew the ones I liked more than the others. But this was the other thing. I am a man who will only drink sugar-free. And nearly all of them, I think like there was something like 5 available. One of those 5 was full fat. All the rest sugar-free. So big tick in a big box. And it was that, there are worse things in life to be putting into your body or to be doing with your time than one energy drink a day. I know there are a lot of people that would actually disagree with that. I am fully aware that these things are not the best. However, from early on, reading what was in these things, there was not a massive amount in these ones. There are certain ones that I wouldn't touch because you really don't know what was going in them. The ingredients list was quite low. Something else, they did say on them that some of the stuff that was in them can help with digestion, and I suffer from IBS, and these drinks had actually helped with IBS. I managed to divert a couple of IBS related situations with these drinks. So I was fully aware that they weren't the best thing to be putting into my body, but on the flip side, they did help me out in a variety of different ways, and I kind of looked at it like a treat. And to me, if that's your treat, as I say, there's worse things you can be doing with your life. 5 o'clock was, I finished work, I've worked hard all day, and I'm just going to have this to get me through the evening so I can go to bed and start it all over again tomorrow. But I always knew the inevitability, if that's even a word, of what was going to happen. I always knew it. And it has happened. What that is that at some point in time they were going to stop selling them. Because anything that, and it's not a dependency, it's just like a little treat each day. So first of all, started seeing that they didn't have all the flavours. Well, that's okay, there's a lot of flavours and I do like most of them, so just buy other flavours. Then there was a point in time where I think it was down to 2 flavours, and they weren't the best of the bunch, but they were still still good to go. And then there was the time that I went and they didn't have any, and it was a bit like, now what? And I made do. I got like a big pack of little ones of a different type. But then you start to wonder, so you start going on the internet, looking at the Tesco's website and there's no mention of these drinks, and you do a search for them. Then you do a Google search, and essentially what's happened, for whatever reason, I'm sure they've been recalled because they're dangerous. One thing that you would never do with them is pour them into a glass. The colour, that doesn't exist in nature, let's put it that way. So that was the end of the Tesco energy drink. Since then, this has opened my eyes to a whole new world of not very good energy drinks. Man, I have been spoilt, quite frankly. Made the terrible mistake of buying some Monster sugar-free. You see, you could hear it, can't you? I bought some Monster sugar-free energy drinks. They're not nice. I've got these little ones. They are passable, but they're small. They're, you probably need to drink two kind of situation. I got these apple ones. They're okay, but that they're okay. It's kind of that situation, and it's become a bit of a thing. Now I find myself, just random points in the day, just Googling or going on Amazon to see if Amazon sell, or what Amazon sell in the way of energy drinks. So yeah, it's been a tough time, and I'm trying to get through it the best I can. Like now the fridge is I've got 4 different types of energy drinks in the fridge, and all of them are not as good. So there you go. I started a new running route. That's what I was saying before. I've started a new running route. Running was at a particular time of the day, which allowed me to go a particular way, a particular direction, all this, that and the other. The time of going running sort of changed a little bit, and the way I was going, it was a bit. It was perfectly acceptable sort of direction to go, things like that. But at the same time, it was you want to push yourself. And I got it in my head that if I went a particular way, that was going to be a longer distance. It was going to push me, a couple of hills, various elements to deal with. Not like different weather. I'm not like running through snow and then baking hot. Just different aspects, various hill elements, short hill, long hill, steps, various things like that. Last week I ended up in a situation where I was like, do you know what, let's not just keep thinking about it, let's get out there and do it. So I went and I did it, and it was tough. It was a tough run. But a couple of days doing it, and there was a day where I was actually I'm going a little quicker than usual. It's a couple of miles, so that's a good daily distance, I feel, especially time wise. I'm not the fastest runner, like I've said before. It's not really running, it's just moving ever so slightly quicker than walking. But it's getting out there, it's getting it done, those sorts of things. So that's that. So there's 2 hills, depending which way I go, because you can do it forwards and backwards, like like Ridge Racer. 3 tracks, but if you can do it forwards and backwards, that's 6 tracks. So there's like, it's hard to explain because it's the same route, but there's like an easier way and a harder way. The hard way is like a gradual hill it just goes on and on and on. Whereas if you do it the other way, that gradual hill is downhill. So you see where I'm coming from. So we're doing that for a little while. It's good. Like I say, it's a good daily length and a good daily length for time. What I should probably look at doing is, again, getting back to going at a particular time, which would give me more time to do it, and then look at going further. On Saturday I did the big run. Big run's the big run. Managed to do it. Just got it done. Got it taken care of. But yeah, I'm kind of digging this new route. So we shall see. One thing that will maybe have to change. It goes past the gym, and while ever that gym is closed, that's I'm not bothering anyone, am I? If it's closed. Once that gym is open again, I have to rethink that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that is it. I'm afraid. In a world where we are locked down, the stories don't come to us, do they? I watch some movies. Now here's the thing. I said you immediately know I'm going to go back on something I said. I said I was going to try and only cover films that I've not seen before. I've got 4 films on my list. 3 of them I've seen before, but there's a reason for each of them being on the list. First film on the list is a film I've seen before, The Butterfly Effect. Butterfly Effect, I seem to remember when it came out it took a lot of criticism because people were like, oh, it's just trying to be Donnie Darko. I can see where those people are coming from, but I don't massively agree. I think it's just tackling a different thing in a different way. But like I say, I do see where people are coming from. So I saw The Butterfly Effect years ago, and I've seen it a few times, but I haven't seen it in years. Ashton Kutcher, not at the top of my favourite actor list. I think he falls in that category of I don't have a massive amount of time for him, but if he's in something good, then I'm okay watching it. So I watched it, and I'm like, I remember what happened in this film. I just don't remember all the details. Interesting to see that the one of the guys in it was in Daredevil. The TV series, not the movie. So I got to the back end of this film and I was like, oh, I remember how this film ends. That was the main thing. I remembered how it ended. And I'm watching it. And the end happened. And the end was not the ending I remembered. And I honestly, I lost my shit. I thought I was having some kind of mental breakdown. I was like, what is happening? Why is the film changed? Why is this not the film I remember? What is happening right now? Then I was like, has the film changed? And I was freaking out, because like I say, I've seen it a good few times, years ago, admittedly, but I remember that film. Not every aspect of it, but I remember the gist, and I certainly remember the end. and the end was different, and I was losing it. I was just like, what is happening? Up was down, black was white. So I had to Google it, because I was like, hang on, chill out, calm down. There has to be a reason for this. So I Googled it. Turns out that the original ending for that film, which if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it, but the original ending didn't go over well with test audiences. So they changed the end to a different end. It's like, okay, so how is it I have seen the end of that film? And there was this stuff saying that there's like 4 different endings and all of this, that and the other. But then I started thinking about it further down the line, and I'm like, they haven't just changed the end of that film, they have changed the entire film. Because to get to the end that I remember, that plot point is through it, all the way through that film. It's dotted throughout that film. So yeah, it was a really surreal moment in time. Very bizarre. So like I say, it's a film I've seen, and I said I was going to talk not as much about films I've seen. However, yeah, it was a weird moment in time for me. I watched another film which I haven't seen, so there, straight on something I haven't seen. I watched the film Black Mass. Another one of those, I'd been interested to see it when it was released. That was at a time I wasn't really going to the cinema. It falls into the category of a film that I probably wouldn't go to the cinema to see. It's the story of Whitey Bulger, is that his name? You'd think I'd look these things up beforehand, wouldn't you? We'll just Black Mass. Black Mass. Yep, that doesn't tell us the answer, does it? James Whitey Bulger. I never realised that it had such a I don't know what the word is. Such an interesting cast. Johnny Depp obviously plays Whitey Bulger. Benedict Cumberbatch is in it. Didn't know that. Joel Edgerton. The only thing I ever remember him from is Warrior. Kevin Bacon. A Skarsgård of the many. That Jesse Plemons, who's from Breaking Bad. He plays that guy in Breaking Bad that I didn't like. David Harbour was in it. A guy called Corey, is it Stoll? Who I'd never seen until he was in Ant-Man as the bad guy. And since I've rewatched Ant-Man recently, he's been in loads of stuff that I've seen recently. Anybody else jumping out? Yeah, there was just a fair few people of note in it, which I thought was kind of cool. It's one of these sort of mob movies. The twist being is that he was an FBI informant, whilst also being like they were trying to like get rid of the actual mob. So he was supposedly informing on the mob, which it turned out wasn't the case. He wasn't doing it. The guys he was working with were covering that side of it up. Very much like any of those sorts of films, very enjoyable, very interesting how, having a look into that world. Some of the stuff at the end, like where they're talking, how they like flash up on screen, so and so went to prison for this long and got X number of life sentences, this, that, and the other. Some of the stuff at the end where it talked about like what the outcome of these people's lives were, absolutely baffling. Like some of the guys were like, been involved in a few murders, but informed on so and so at the end, so got a reduced sentence. Like, okay. One of the guys got nearly as much time as Whitey Bulger, just for covering stuff up. It was bonkers. Enjoyable film, interesting. I had never realised that all of these people were in it, like Kevin Bacon and Benedict Cumberbatch, but they were, so should probably move on from that. Very good, very enjoyable. Available on Prime at the moment if anybody's fancying checking it out. Yes. So I've got a couple of more films that I've seen before. Again, the first one is a film that I've seen before that I haven't seen for years, and it was one of those things. It was a film I watched in a hotel one night, and I missed the beginning. So I always never felt like I've seen all of it. Another one of those films where you go back and look at the cast, and the cast is like, a reasonably big cast. The film is Basic, starring John Travolta, Samuel Jackson, Giovanni Ribisi, and others. Pretty sure I meant to look that up, to be fair. Terrible. Basic, not Instinct. See, told you that would be the first thing that come up. Basic. Did he do the thing that I think he did? Yes, he did. So I had Tim Daly, and the reason that I knew Tim Daly is not for his acting career, it's for his voice acting. Because his voice acting, he has voiced Superman. Taye Diggs. It's got one of the guys from Ray Donovan in. Who is she and what has she been in? Connie Nielsen. Nielsen. Oh, she was in Gladiator. She was in Wonder Woman as Hippolyta, Wonder Woman's mother. That's where I recognised her from. Wow. Just to give a perspective on this film was released in 2003. This'll sound however this sounds, but there was a scene where John Travolta had just come out of the shower and he was absolutely jacked. No, maybe not jacked, like more ripped. And I was like, when did John Travolta ever look like that? It was bizarre. Very strange. The story is that a load of army rangers go on a training exercise and their commanding officer is killed in the process of the training exercise. They're all trying to kill each other when the helicopter comes to collect them. So many of them are dead. Some of them are injured. And there's basically a story. So John Travolta's character was part of the DEA and is brought in to interrogate the variety of people that are left. Each one of them's got a different story, each part of the story differs to the other person's, and more of it unfolds as time goes on. There are twists and turns aplenty. It's like starts out like a whodunit, and then it becomes more of a whodunit and why, and then it's just twist on twist on twist. I remember seeing it previously and I remember quite enjoying it because of the sort of the twist aspect. Something that I may or may not feel is a little dated these days, but that might just be me. But it was good to go back and watch it again. Good to see these actors from nearly 20 years ago. John Travolta, Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson looked, I suppose it's young in a lot of ways. Far removed from his sort of his Nick Fury-esque nature of nowadays. Giovanni Ribisi played a different character to. I suppose he always plays different characters there. It's enjoyable. Like I say, quite a few twists and turns, which isn't everybody's cup of tea. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it again. I enjoyed watching it from the start. But very much a film I remember having seen once before. So, I've got one film left. I don't know how to tackle this. So, what I should maybe do is just say my piece, and then if anybody wants to come after me, they are well within their right to do so. I watched Suicide Squad. Hear me out. There's a reason. There are two reasons I watched Suicide Squad. Number one, I haven't seen it for quite some time. And I think I've only ever seen it once because I did not like it. To the point that I wasn't prepared to watch it again. So, that's reason number one. Reason number two, and almost more important than anything, I saw it was available on Prime. So I was like, I'll add it to the list. And then weirdly, adding it to the list kind of made me want to watch it. So I was like, sod it. It'll be like hour and a half, couple of hours out of my life that I'll never get back. But at least I'm a man who's seen the Green Lantern film like 3 times, because every time I go, it can't be that bad, surely. And then I watch it and I'm like, no, it was worse than you remembered. Time passes and I end up watching the Green Lantern film again. See what I mean? I put it on. I quite quickly realised there was something wrong. And what I realised was wrong was I was like, I remember this bit. I remember it not actually being that bad. What? And I was like, why would I say that? This film's terrible. Why would I say that it wasn't that bad when I know it was? It would have been. You may have guessed what's coming. You may not. Maybe it's the twist in the tale. I didn't think it was as bad as I previously thought it was. Now, hear me out. Couple of things. Number one, once it gets to a certain point in that film, you're just like, what exactly is going on? Like the bad guy's doing a thing and you're not really sure what that thing is, and you're like, I get it, you're the bad guy and you're doing a thing and you're trying to kill everyone, okay, but what? That still doesn't really make a lot of sense. And something that I will still stand by is Jared Leto's Joker is awful. Those words don't do that statement justice. He was... every single aspect of that role, that portrayal, every bit of it was just terrible. And I honestly don't believe that it could be all him. There has to be another factor, because I've seen a lot of stuff with Jared Leto in, and he's very good in the majority of stuff. I watched that film recently, Dallas Buyers Club. He was very good in that. Requiem for a Dream, all sorts of films that he's in, that he's very good in. But that whole aspect of that film is just, it's so far away from the mark. It's pretty baffling. So maybe it's just me. I started wondering, I was like, oh, I do love a bad film. So maybe that's what's happened here. Maybe I've just started enjoying it because it's bad. Who knows? All I can say at this point is not as bad as I originally thought. But I originally thought it was one of the worst films I'd ever seen. So, swings and roundabouts in it. I watched the third episode of Series 2 of The Mandalorian. One of those things where I was like, is this what they're gonna do with this whole series? So this series is very much he's trying to find other members, other Mandalorians, and every time he thinks he's found other Mandalorians, there's something not right. So there was an episode where, spoilers by the way, there was an episode it's like, oh, here's Mandalorian. Oh no, you're just a guy wearing Mandalorian armor. Oh, here's a load of Mandalorians. Oh, you're different Mandalorians to me. And it's like, is this what we're doing? Is this what this series is going to be? Is it going to be, oh look, I found a oh no, you're not a Mandalorian. Is it going to be that? Because if it is, I feel that's going to get old. So, it was a fine episode. There was this thing about I don't know if anybody who listens to this listens to the wrestling podcast, but this was the episode that had one of the female wrestlers, WWE superstars, Sasha Banks, was in it. One of those things, I know it's quite kind of a big thing for that cross pollination. On the other hand, if I hadn't known she was in it, I wouldn't have known she was in it, if you know what I mean. Her character was very understated, I felt. So that's as far as like watching stuff's concerned. I've played a couple of games. Like with the movies and stuff, they're games I've played before, so I'm not going to dwell too much. I reached a point in Anthem where I can't actually progress any further because nobody plays it, and there are certain missions where you have to do them with other people, and if there's nobody playing, you can't progress any further, which which obviously it's one of those, I imagine that's something that they will have maybe not thought of when they released the game. So that's a bit of a pain. The other thing that I've written down here is the levelling system in Anthem is terrible. I knew this like from when I played it originally. Like, you don't level up like you do in other games. It's just really random, and it's just designed to drive you forward, which is fine to start with, but as time goes on, it's just an annoyance. And obviously, because I've been through it previously, being back in that sort of that leveling system, it's become real old real fast. So, not a huge fan. But like I say, I can't progress any further, so that's probably the end of that game. So because of that, I've been playing Jedi Fallen Order, but I've been playing it on the Xbox, because I've still got Game Pass at the moment. It's Jedi Fallen Order, innit? It was my game of 2019. Excuse me. This is it, you know. Without those sweet energy drinks, it's like 9 o'clock. I'm ready for bed. So those are the games. There's other stuff that I could be playing, but I'm not. So I might address that over the next sort of week or so. One thing about Fallen Order is, because I've played it so many times, I find that I'm making mistakes because I'm not really dedicating the brain power required. I'm just sort of running around, just like going through the motions, and then then sort of getting it wrong. So I found last night I was having to like slow it down a little bit and try and actually go where the game wants you to go, rather than just running around like a headless chicken. I have a beard. There we go. I had a beard hair that was attached to another beard hair that wouldn't give up the ghost, give up whatever. So, normally, in a normal world, in a normal podcast situation, that'd kind of be the end, but not today, my friend, not today. I have entered the world of Oculus Quest Link. So PC VR, basically. A little while ago, the Oculus Quest was put in a position where if you plugged a cable into it and plugged that into a computer, you could you could play Oculus Rift games. Bigger library, more selection, more like heavy duty games, things that require things like a graphics card and stuff like that. My PC was never built with a graphics card because it was built pretty much solely to do podcasts and podcast coding and stuff like that, and podcast coding didn't use a graphics card, so it wasn't needed. It was a money saving thing. Job done. Jump forward in time to a point where it's like, oh well, I want to do this. Oh, I haven't got a graphics card. That's kind of that, and it's been sort of the thing I've wanted to do for a long time. I got ready to purchase a graphics card to make this reality, and then with all the stuff that's going on in the world right now, graphics cards are like hen's teeth. I was waiting for them to release new graphics cards because the new ones were supposed to be really good, and yes, they on paper have been released. In reality, they do not exist. Sold out in seconds, and that's the end of it. But it's not, in this business. I don't know what this business is, but in this business, it's not what you know; it's who you know. And if you have good friends and good people said friends and said people might be able to help you out. So I have a loan graphics card, older model, but good enough to do some Oculus Link, some Quest VR, PC VR sort of situation. Also, recently purchased a Humble Bundle. Anybody that doesn't know Humble Bundle, they're a website that offer humongous discounts on like a load of games. So you can get like a batch of games, pay X amount of money, job done. So this offer came up. Big thanks to Sam for the shout on this one. He was like, "Oh, I don't know if this is any good to you, but Humble Bundle have got a VR sale. And there's like a load of games, X amount worth of money's worth of games for not a lot of money." Turned out that weirdly, the way they advertised it was like it was $219 worth of games for £13. Like, that's two different monetary denominations. Just seemed like a weird way of doing it, but obviously it sounds better, doesn't it? As it was, one of the games I had paid full price for recently, which is the Walking Dead game, cost £30. I got it as one of 7 games, and I paid just short of £14 for all of them. So, got the PC upgraded with the graphics card, big thumbs up. Already had a cable that I'd purchased previously. Humble Bundle, got all the games downloaded. And there was a game that I wanted to play, which it turned out, I thought I was going to have to buy it through Steam. Turned out I could get it through Oculus. We are good to go. Open the box with the cable in, take the cable out and go, what the flip is this? On one end, a USB-C connector to connect to the Oculus Quest. Perfect. That is the correct connector. On the other end is a USB-C connector which goes absolutely nowhere on my PC. Numpty, you bought the wrong cable. Turns out the company that sell these cables sell 3 different lengths of cable. The really long one, the 8-meter cable, and the shorter one, the 5-meter cable. They have USB-C to USB, I think it's called USB-A adapters. That's what we want, people. Those are the ones we want. Their 6-meter cable is USB-C to USB-C. That is not the one we want. So this was Saturday, the revelation of this came out. Luckily for me, I could get a cable, the correct cable, sent to me on Sunday. So I did that. I returned the first one, I reordered one, and then it did indeed turn up on Sunday. I can't stress how cool that side of things was. So, a few issues. The cable obviously was a pain, but on the flip side, managed to get a graphics card in a world where there aren't any. So, you know, one for one. I had to download a load of games into Steam. Steam does this really interesting thing where you tell it to download a game and it goes, cool, I'm going to download that. It's like, awesome. And then it just like forgets and doesn't bother. It's like, I thought you were downloading that game. Oh, no. Alright, cool. Can you download it then? Yeah, maybe. Okay, you let me know how you get on with that then, yeah? Shall you do that? Yeah? Alright, I'll let you know. Cool. I just had to like keep telling it to download these games and it'd be like, yeah. What game's that then? Sorry, what? So that was a pain in the ass. Also found that I've been installing all of the games I've been downloading to the wrong hard drive. I have 2 hard drives in my computer. One is massive and one is not. Anybody want to guess where I've been putting all the games? So in the process of trying to move those games, everything decided to shit the bed, and it involved a lot of uninstalling and reinstalling of various things, namely the Oculus software, which funny story, how we laugh, which didn't work multiple times, and then it did work, and then it told me that there was a problem with the game that I wanted. I was like, cool. It was like, oh, why don't you change the file path to where the game's installed? Yeah, I could do that. So I then installed it onto the big hard drive, which I could have done originally. Yeah, super fun. So I have played 2 games. The game that I really wanted to play was a game called Boneworks, which people say it's like this real example of physics games. And whilst I was waiting for various things to download, one of the games from the Humble Bundle had downloaded, which was The Killing Floor Incursion. Now, I've played The Killing Floor on the PlayStation and things like that, but this is a VR version. So I was interested to see how that would go. So, like I say, let's go with Killing Floor because that's what I played first. Lots of fun. A lot of fun. I enjoyed that game. It's very guns and zombies. Very. It knows it's a VR game kind of thing. The way it's sort of laid out, it's like, oh, we've put you into this simulation, but the simulation's gone haywire, so kill a load of zombies sort of situation. Alright, fair enough. And it's guns, and you can throw knives. That's kind of a cool feature. Bit of dual gunning and all that sort of stuff. Lot of fun. Very, very sort of well laid out, very well made. I will admit, better than I expected it to be. I'd heard nothing about this game. I didn't know that The Killing Floor was available as a VR game. It's a game that I have enjoyed quite a lot. A game that I have actually played multiplayer with a friend at one point. It's a cool franchise. Turns out, cool VR game. So I was happy with that. Got to witness right at the start a machine that sort of stabs you in the face with a needle. That was cool. So I finally got the Boneworks should I say, installed. On and off, it took like nearly a day to sort out. And it had a few teething issues to start with. One of them being that when each level starts, my character is stuck in the floor, which, with a bit of wiggling and jiggling, you get out of the floor, so it's fine. However, at one point I was completely stuck in the floor and couldn't do anything, and at another point I had the falling through the world glitch, which I've never had in VR before. That's real interesting, because it's you that's actually falling through the world rather than looking at a computer game character on the screen. It's you that's falling through the world. It's very, very strange. I will say this, Boneworks is not the game I thought it was going to be. I've seen a lot of video of this game, and all the stuff that I've seen, it's like, you're just in a room shooting stuff, and it's like proper full-on physics mechanics. I've seen other stuff of like, it kind of felt like a bit of a mess around sort of thing. This was not the case. there was a platforming section which it didn't go down too well, if I'm honest. I don't like platforming in anything, especially not in VR. I don't want to do platforming in VR. So there was that aspect. However, on the flip side, there was a thing, I was talking about this earlier, where there was like these 4 dummies and a table that just had loads of different weapons, ranging from like blunt object weapons to swords. So I picked up a blunt object and I hit a dummy with it. It was like, cool, that's fun. Gets old quick. But there's like dagger, like throw a dagger. It's like, phew, cool. And there was a point where I realised like one of these knives that I'd thrown was like stuck in this dummy. And I was looking, I was like, some of these weapons are like swords. And if a knife stabs in the dummy, if you throw it, what happens if you try and like essentially run the dummy through with the sword? So I gave it a go, and yeah, ran it through, and then just sort of let go of the sword, and the sword just sticking out of this dummy. It was hilarious, as I'm sure you can imagine. I did get stuck playing one of the levels, but that was fine because it was time to turn it off anyway. So I was like, yeah, I'll leave it there. I will admit I have since gone away and watched a little bit of a walkthrough video just to kind of try and understand what that bit wants me to do, and I'd completely missed the key. I also completely missed a giant neon sign pointing to where the key was. So yeah, not the sharpest tool in the box, this kid, is he? So look out for more updates on the old Oculus Link. That was what I was saying I'd kind of like to have been doing instead, but as it is, I managed to knock this out in a reasonable timescale, which means I've still got time to run off downstairs, play a little bit of Boneworks. So there we go, that's that for this one, and that's this for that one. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll speak to you next week. Bye bye. So there you go then. What do you think to that? Another one done, another week gone. This week's obviously the week, the big one, depending if you're in that kind of frame of mind. Some won't be, I'm sure. Some will be more than enough. So, you know, big week. People checking us out on YouTube, big thanks. If you're not, maybe do. And while you're there, click a little subscribe. Click for notifications. Get you to find out more stuff when it's happening. Everybody jump over to thecookiecast.com. Check us out there. You can find social media links. You can even drop us an email. Tell us how you're getting on. Have you done all your shopping? So that's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.